So we have a planning experiment question. We did the first three questions. So starting with question 4. 6 marks question. We have Agri limes are mixtures of calcium carbonate and calcium oxide. So Agri lime contain calcium carbonate as well as calcium oxide. And farmer use Agri lime on field to neutralize acidity. So farmers are using this Agri lime to neutralize acidity because these compounds can react with acid, both calcium carbonate and calcium oxide, like metal carbonate and metal oxides. They can react with acid. So we can use them to neutralize the acidity of the soil. We have to plan an investigation to find out which of the two different Agri lime, Q or R, will neutralize more acid. You are provided with a common lab apparatus and the chemical include dilute nitric acid. Agri-lime is just a name given to a mixture of calcium carbonate and calcium oxide. So mixture of calcium carbonate and calcium oxide, we are saying that is Agri-lime. And the purpose of this is to neutralize the acidity of the soil. Like if the soil is too acidic, then these compounds are added, so it will neutralize. So we want to investigate which of the Agri-lime is more effective in neutralizing the acidity of the soil. So how this experiment can be done? So whenever remember acid reactions are there usually, so the indicator is the best thing to identify, because when acid react with carbonate, there will be bubbles phase because of the carbon dioxide. But when acid react with metal oxide like calcium oxide, you don't observe any bubbles. If it was only calcium carbonate present, then we don't need an indicator. But because it also contains calcium oxide, so we need an indicator as well. So how it can be done? So what we can do first, we can take. So what we can do, we can take a conical flask. First, I'll mention how it can be done, and then I'll mention the points as well. So first, we take a conical flask, and this conical flask is filled with, say, 10 cm cube of acid, nitric acid. And how we pour this nitric acid, we should use a burette. Why not pipette? Because pipette can only measure a fixed volume of 25 cm cube. It cannot measure a variable volume. If we want to measure exactly 25, then pipette. But if variable volume like 10.1, 15.2, 3, then we should use a burette for a more accurate. So first we use a burette and transfer 10 cm cube of a nitric acid into a conical flask. Then what we do, we add indicator, drops of indicator. Indicator, always drops are added because indicators are also weak acids, so they will also affect the result. That's why only drops of indicators are added. Any name indicator, you can mention methyl orange, you can mention phenolphthalein, you can mention thymol pathylene, any named indicator. But this Agri lime, which is a mixture of calcium carbonate and calcium oxide, this is solid. Okay, this is not aqueous, this is solid. So what we do, using a spatula, we add, because we have two Agri lime. We have Agri lime Q and we have Agri lime R. So what we do, using a spatula, we add Agri lime Q. Till what point we will add? We'll add this Agri lime Q to this mixture, to the conical flask, which contain nitric acid and indicator, until indicator show a color change. Once indicators show a color change, then we'll measure what mass is used. Like example, every time we measure the mass of Agri lime Q and we add to the conical flask until the indicators show a color change. If you want to increase the surface area, you can mention we can crush by using a mortar and pestle and then add. So we add measure the mass of Agri lime Q and then add to a conical flask until indicators show a color change. And same thing, we'll repeat the procedure Same thing what we'll do, in another, right, we repeat the procedure with a conical flask which is filled with same concentration or same amount of a nitric acid, which is 10 cm cube of a nitric acid. And again, we'll add indicator, drops of indicator. And then this time we'll do the same experiment by adding the known mass of R. Like every time, maybe 1 gram or 0.5 grams is added until indicators show a color change. Now, how we will know which is a better, because we want to identify when in which two of the agri lime will neutralize more acid. So we'll compare the mass. The one which we need less mass will neutralize more acid, because like smaller quantity can neutralize 10 cm cube. Here, if I, for example, if I say for this experiment, 20 grams of Agri Lime Q was neutralizing 10 cm cube of nitric acid, and the Agri Lime R, say 35 grams of Agri Lime R was neutralizing the nitric acid. So which is a better Agri Lime? Q is better Agri Lime, because Q, small quantity, can neutralize the same 10 cm cube, but for R, greater quantity neutralize the 10 cm cube of nitric acid. So this is one way of doing the experiment, like what we do, or it can be done other way around. Like in a conical flask, first you take no equal masses of the two Agri limes, okay, like Agri Lime Q and Agri Lime R, add drops of indicator and add acid from the burette until indicators show a color change. Once indicators show a color change, you will identify, you will compare the volume of acid required, and the one which required a greater volume of acid to neutralize, that is a better Agri Lime. Like this is one way of doing the experiment, like adding Agri Lime after adding acid. Another way of doing the same experiment is like using a spatula, you transfer equal amount of Agri Lime Q and R into a conical flask. So you add 20 grams of Agri Lime Q and you add 20 grams of, this will not be an aqueous, this is solid. You add 20 grams of Agri Lime R. This is another way of doing the same experiment. Then what we do now, we'll add drops of indicator. Here also we'll add drops of indicator. Now fill the burette with the nitric acid. Here also we fill the burette with the nitric acid. And we add nitric acid, HNO3, until indicators show a color change. And then we'll compare the volume of nitric acid. For example, this one required, say, 20 cm cube of a nitric acid for a complete reaction. This one required 10 cm cube of a nitric acid for a complete reaction. So which Agri Lime is can neutralize more acid? So it means Agri Lime Q can neutralize more acid. So you don't have to mention which is better. You have to just plan an investigation. So what are the points you will include? Is it clear? This experiment? Anyone having a doubt or a question till this point? Okay. So first, the second one, I feel a better way of doing. So but whenever you're planning experiment, try to use maximum name of apparatus to plan your experiment. Just don't write the method. So first thing, we will measure, say, 2 grams of Agri Lime Q by balance, and transfer that into conical flask by the help of spatula. That is the first thing. Okay. So if we measure 2 grams of Agri Lime Q, we measure its mass by balance, and we transfer that into a conical flask. Then add drops of methyl orange as an indicator. Then after adding, fill the burette with nitric acid. Then add acid from the burette into flask until indicator show a color change. Then once the indicator show a color change, record the volume of acid used. Then repeat the procedure with Agri Lime with same mass of Agri Lime R. Then compare the volume of acid used to neutralize then the experiment which use large volume of acid is better Agri Lime. So the one which required a large volume of acid for a neutralization is a better Agri Lime. Is it clear, this one?